Okay, my friends, unless you've been in some deep, deep, deep cave, you've heard of the Big Bang. Well, what is the Big Bang? They say there was nothing in a point. Well, what was the point of nothing? And then all of a sudden there was everything from that point. So it blew up, which was nothing blew up into everything. Now that's the only way they can explain how everything exists. And then they have to say, well, because it all blew up, it's all moving away from each other. So then they start drawing all these conclusions based on that wrong assumption. The true nature of reality is light was a part of, or is part of, the God Almighty. And that's all there is light. Every single thing there is, 100% of whatever is made, 100% is made from these two particles alone. Your eyeballs are made from these. The food you eat is made from these. Feces is made from these. All they are is dipole particles. And here is my electron flood theory that shows these particles. And we've seen it. Well, there they are right there. These are the particles that display during these events. And this is what a photon is right here. That's a photon. Right? And this is what they look like when they're glowing, moving forward, and exciting those little particles right there. You see those little red particles in front of that ball? They're getting excited because it's pushing against their fields. So field against field causes excitation, glow causes it to swell. These never change. And there's nobody's denying that from CERN. They're exactly what they're saying, the same thing. And Fermilab, look at that point. What's the point? By Don Lincoln. And he says these are the two particles. This is a black one, there's a white one. And one of them glows and seems to have no mass, and one of them just has mass and no glow. And he's right. And these are what they make as photons when they're glued together. When we did what we did to impact them, we forced the white ones to actually separate from the black ones. And here's the actual separation occurring right there. You see that? That's fission, where the black left the white, and that's fusion coming back together. In between is raw energy. I think we get free energy out of this, but it needs to be looked into. Alright, so I'm saying 100% of everything is made out of these little particles. When they said let there be light, it meant let there be everything. Alright, don't forget, Fermilab, CERN, they know these are the two smallest particles that exist. They call it a muon and an electron neutrino, basically. And the muon never changes size, which is the extended particle. It says in summary, the extended particle have fixed size. Although they may have a fuzzy edge, point-like particles are mathematical abstractions with a zero size. But even zero-size particles have an extended effect due to the effect of the field surrounding them. I find it hard to believe they're a zero size, but they don't seem to have much of a mass, I can tell you that, because I show in the nuclear bomb blast, the first one to hit is the Bernie one. It just burns the house up, doesn't even move it. And then these come a second later, poof, and the whole house goes. So let there be light, and that's what all of these Gnostics are talking about. Everything is light. Everything came from light. Well, let me give you, wait till you hear this. Okay, my claim is that everything there is made of the same particles, which are light, which are the black and the white ball, which I showed you, and we can see them. And they can be black and red, they can be black and green, they can be black and blue, they can be black and probably almost any color, because color relates to the spin. Now, red, green, and blue have a specific frequency that they make a crystal that makes that particular color. So those are pretty much set. But there's all kinds of other colors. All these different colors are bouncing back at you at different frequency. Some of them are real fast, some of them are slow. Now, this is called Let's Talk Religion, because it always comes down to this. How did we get here? A Big Bang? No, I say absolutely not. And Darwin? Absolutely no. No, no, no. When you start studying life, that's just the most nonsense that comes from pond scum. Everything is related to that. And then once you start to come into the electron flood theory and mud fossils, everything changes. Now, this is the best channel I've ever seen. I got to be honest with you, I was absolutely blown away. It's called Let's Talk Religion. And he refers to another one in here that's called Religion for Breakfast. And they're not crazy people. Very, very reasonable thinking, talking, discussing what was written. This is the other guy that's breakfast. Anyway, I'm just going to show you real quickly. This is what light is. And it congeals into masses and matter and gases and liquids and solids and life. This is what life comes from. Now, here goes.
Is the source of everything and indeed the reality in which everything takes place. Quote, the one...
Listen to this. This just blew me away. This is from Gnostics. And this is their explanation of the material life.
Is the invisible spirit. We should not think of it as a god or like a god, for it is greater than a god because it has nothing over it and no lord above it. It does not exist within anything inferior to it, since everything exists within it, for it established itself.
It established itself. Nobody's ever going to be able to get beyond that, how it got there. However, every single thing there is exists within its physicalness. Right? Nothing comes from outside of it. It makes everything.
It is eternal, since it does not need anything, for it is absolutely complete. It has never lacked anything in order to be completed by it. Rather, it is always absolutely, completely in light.
Always absolutely, completely in light. No more obvious words that I've ever spoken. Everything there is made from light.
The one is illimitable, since there is nothing before it to limit it. Unfathomable, since there is nothing before it to fathom it. Immeasurable, since there was nothing before it to measure it. Invisible, since nothing has seen it. Eternal, since it exists eternally. Unutterable, since nothing could comprehend it to utter it. Unnameable, since there is nothing before it to give it a name.
This is from the secret book of John. These are from the Nag Hammadi texts. Nobody ever knew about them. They were discussions in the realm of religious spirituality, however you want to look at it. And they had the same questions we had. And they had some answers that nobody wanted to hear. So they had to hide the text. That's my interpretation. And this makes the most sense of anything that I have seen. Completely in light. Let there be light. Look at this. This is just unbelievable. This is, once again, secret book of John, Nag Hammadi text, from this channel that I'm showing you here, which is Let's Talk Religion. And this is the quote. It says, His, the invisible spirit, thought became a reality. This invisible spirit, the thought of having material existence. And she who appeared in his presence in shining light, it's always light, came forth. She came forth in a shining light. She is the first power who preceded everything, the light, and came forth from his mind as the forethought of the all. I want to think about making everything. Her light shines like the Father's light. She, the perfect power, is the image of the perfect and invisible Virgin Spirit. It's invisible. You can't. There's nothing there that you can actually see, but it's giving power to everything. She, the first power, the glory of Barbello, the perfect glory among the aeons. She was the perfect one. The glory of revelation. She came forth and revealed herself. She glorified and praised the Virgin Spirit, for because of the Spirit she had come forth as light. She is the first thought, the image of the Spirit. She became the universal womb, for she precedes everything, because she is light. She came forth as a shining light. Now don't forget, this is absolutely fabulous. Let's talk religion. And the other one again was religion for breakfast. Both of them very thoughtful, very, a lot of research, not just nonsense speaking. I like material research and information, and this was written. So to me, that's material evidence. And from what I have found, it's all supported. And light, everything there is made of light. I don't care how you cut it, it's made of light. A dark particle and a white particle glued together, and then in big masses and big balls of them, they become molecules and parts and bodies, and they become alive and interact. It's all from light. All right, once again, I don't have a whole lot of really excellent knowledge about this, but I do sort of understand what the claims are, and the pleroma is the entire universe. Basically, it's everything there is, and it sort of self-organizes around Christ, who apparently controls all these what they call aeons, and every aeon, see, this is an aeon, they're partners, and you can only, and they make their own, and each one of these aeons is like a manifestation of a feeling or a thing, like the winds or love or hatred or all kinds of emotions and so forth. I think they say there's like 24 different aeons, and you can't create one of these without a pair. And apparently this is what happened, was our physical manifestation is not a good one. It's made half-ass. All right, I'm just going to throw it right in your face. Gnosticism is knowing. It's having knowledge. Now, it's basically in the religious realm, but here's what the Gnostic logo is. You see this? This is the Gnostic logo. This is Typhon. These are his serpent coil legs. He has the thighs of a human. He's got the head of a, looks like a bird. He's got all this fluty stuff all around his neck and everything on his head. And he was a giant that his head scraped the stars. Now don't forget, this is from Appolodorus library. This was down that same time frame. And they're talking about Earth being Gaia, had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon. He's a hybrid between man and beast. In size and strength, he surpassed all the offspring of Earth. As far as his thighs go, he was of human shape, and such prodigious bulk he out-topped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. One of his hands reached out to the west, the other to the east, and from them projected 100 dragons' heads. I haven't found those, but that's what it says. From the thighs downward, he had huge coils of vipers, which when drawn out reached to his very head and emitted a loud hissing. His body was all winged, and unkempt hair streamed on the wind from his head and cheeks. So his head and cheeks had unkempt hair, and the rest of his body was all winged. Fire flashed from his eyes, such as so great. It was just a gigantic creature, and his head scrubbed the stars. This was written at the same time as the Gnostics were hiding their texts in caves. Alright, nobody's ever had the eyes big enough to see this. This dragon starts here, runs all the way across North Africa. The coils run out here, the serpent coils. His legs are the thighs. We're going to come in real close and look at that. This is Typhon, and he's trying to kill some gigantic fish. All I can tell you is what I'm seeing. Now we're going to go in real close, and I'm going to get and draw right around his head and all this stuff. Because here's his head with all the flowing hair, and there's his red dragon eye. And this is his throat coming all the way down, and his dragon-scaled throat. Alright, now I'm going to draw him out so that you'll see what he actually looks like. And he was killed by Zeus with his great and mighty sword, cut his throat right there. Cut his throat. And that's what it was written. That's not my words. Now let me draw out his winged and his hair and his eye and all that stuff. Alright, this is exactly what Typhon is, and it is exactly what they said. Now this yellow I put in here to show where his beard is. All dragons have these little beards, and everybody just thought it was a beard, you know, they just have a beard. Well, guess what? It's squirting out all this toxin. All this is toxic stuff, and I'll show you in great detail after I clean up the screen. Now, this is his face. Alright, they all have a bump on their nose. I don't know why, but they do. And it comes around. This is all this hairy head streaming off, and his red flaming eye, which I will show you. And then it has all this fluty looking stuff going down the side of his neck. And this yellow continues all the way down. The yellow is the source of the toxin. Now, then it starts to go into these feathery looking patterns. You see the feathers here? And this whole back is all feathers. Now, let me clean this off, and then we're going to look at this venom, and then we're going to look at the throat and the scales and everything. Now, what I want you to remember is this stuff here. You see the pattern here? That's runoff of a dead, decaying, decomposing body's fluids. They leak out, literally leak out. This thing is on the surface of the earth. It didn't happen all that long ago that I can determine. It's not like it's buried. It's on top of the earth. Now, all of this is leaking fluids, as they call it, effluent. And if you ever see a dead, decaying body that's been left somewhere accidentally for a week or something, it has exact same patterns. All around the body will be this fluid. Now, this is exactly what it shows. And they even show this stuff, exact same patterns in the parades and all that. Alright, this is exact same screenshot. I just removed everything. The red flary eye. This flashy stuff going down the throat. That's the throat. This is all the effluent running off. This is this hairy head. And then these are like feathers. They look like feathery patterns, you see? To me they do. I don't know, maybe they're not. But that's what it said he had. Now, where's his legs? They look like thighs. There they are right there. You see the size of this thing? That's his head. It runs all the way to the other side, over to the Mediterranean. This is his tail. And those are feathers. I can show you those. Give it a second to home in. These are a feathery pattern right at the end of the tail. You see over here, maybe a little better over here. That's the feathery pattern at the end of the tail. You see it here? It's feathery looking. Now, if you go back from there, this whole thing is like a flail at the end. You see it? Some kind of feathery looking pattern. But it also has dragon scales built into it too. You see? I go a little quick and sometimes you can't see the pattern easily. But take your time. Come up. You got time. You see this? That's a feather. That's some kind of a feather. And that's at the tip of his tail. Now, let's follow the tail right over here to right here is dragon scales. You see all the scales? And see all the runoff? The same thing here. That's dead, decaying dragon scales. Now, let's give it a second to home in, and you'll see there's all plates on top, plate after plate after plate. This thing was armored, man. Whew. Look at that. And that's not just accidental hills and valleys. You see, and all this kind of scaly looking stuff. It's all over because it was a scaly dragon. And it comes right up to his cloaca, and you know, it was an avian creature. There's the cloaca right there. Right here's the cloaca. See that? And they're living in where the fertility would be. This is the tube that is the cloacal tube. You see, it comes down and poops right out into here. This is where the urine meets the feces. That's how you ever see bird poop. It's got black and white. It's both. It's the white part and it's the poop part. And between the two of them, they make a very good fertile ground to grow things in, and that's what they're doing right there. And that right there is the cloaca. Now, these are the legs, which are the thighs. In Appolodorus, it said they were the human thighs, and way out here came his tentacles, and they do. This, if you look in, I'm not going to bother because it's just so obvious. This is skin. Now, this skin is it's leather. It almost looks like ostrich hide, and it's an avian creature, so who the hell knows? But that is at the bottom of the legs. You see the legs come down here? These are his thighs. So it said. His head looks just like the Gnostic text head. Appolodorus says the same things. His head scrubbed the stars. If this thing was standing up, it would be twice as high as the International Space Station. That's how tall this would be. Look at these legs. They come way out here. And the other thing over here, it's exactly what it says. The text is not wrong. The text is exactly correct, and this proves it. Now check this out. Again, this is his head. It comes wrapping around, and there's all that flashy stuff. There's his eye. This is the beard. All right? Let's come in real close to that. Because you see it's being fed by this yellow stuff. It goes all the way down the throat. Just so you can see, all that yellow stuff goes all the way down, all the way down, right down to here into the gut. And it's spitting up, I think it probably comes right out of here. Right up into here and right out. And then when it comes out of his beard, wait do you see this? This is stunning. Here's his beard. All right, isn't that cool? Look at that. And here's the other beard. There's two of them. They both come down right from this yellow stuff. Now, look at this one. This is the one that's spitting out all of the toxic venom. You see that? That is just horrifying looking. And that's coming right out of his beard. There's the beard. This is the beard. This is the beard. And it's squirting all out. The other one is not really too involved in this attack, if it appears, but I don't know. It's doing something here. It's got all this strange looking chemistry going on with it. Maybe it has to mix together the two, I don't know. But I can tell you what, you don't want to be standing in front of that. And that's where that fish was. Let's just come right down to the fish's body, because it squirted all the way down here, all the way down, and hit him, this gigantic fish, on the back, and his back was eaten right into, and so was his fin. This is a huge fish. That's a huge typhon. And here's I'm not going to belabor this. You have Google Earth. You come up and look at this stuff if you're interested. This is actually body tissues with all of the surface eaten away. And here's the vein, the arteries. Arteries bring in the red blood. And then the red blood comes down to these little tiny blood vessels and squirts out the things that are necessary for the cells to live on. Oxygen, different metals, and so forth. And then it ends up going into these black areas, which are the vein, which pulls back all of the used up blood, like this area, right? This one right here, I'm sure is going to be a vein, because they don't, and all of the used up blood is getting collected in here and going to get pulled back up to the heart and lungs and so forth to get recharged. There's another vein over there, but the red ones are the arteries. Isn't that something? And I mean, here they are very, very. This is not average. This is not something you see every day, and that's not just weathering. I mean, somebody's got to wake up and start to, smell the decomposition here. That dragon was attacking the fish, and this is the dragon that is the Gnostics' logo. And Jesus Christ was a Gnostic. He was in with the Essenes. And the Nag Hammadi texts have the Gospel of Thomas in there, which was a whole batch of sayings that Jesus said. And nobody's ever going to be able to figure them out, but he did, not all of them anyway. But he did speak about all of these events, basically, that the earth is a body and the earth is a corpse. And that when you search and find out what's going on for real, you're going to be very upset and you're going to be disturbed. And all of that stuff is true. All right, they depicted Zeus killing Typhon or fighting him with his thunderbolt, and Typhon having the thighs of a human and coils of a viper, and all that winged stuff all over him. They all seem to be avian creatures.